PlayStation 2 console left its mark on video games, not only for its widespread commercial success, but also for many memorable and never before seen type of games released on it that continue to influence and inspire gamers and developers today. Video game designer Fumito Ueda made his mark on the industry in 2001 with his directorial debut of the award-winning puzzle adventure game Ico, only to then go on and create a second epic in a row which has inspired video game developers, film directors, and even the development of an award-winning video game remake 12 years later. How's it going, everyone? I'm Tazen, and welcome to my educational introduction to and must-try recommendation for Shadow of the Colossus. Titled Wanda and the Colossus in Japan, Shadow of the Colossus was released physically on the PlayStation 2 in North America and Japan in October 2005, and in Australia and Europe almost 4 months later in February 2006. The game was followed by an enhanced PlayStation 3 remaster bundled with Ico, which was released both physically and digitally on the PlayStation 3 approximately 6 years later in September 2011. A further 6 years onward, the game then went on to release a standalone ultra high definition remake on the PlayStation 4, releasing both physically and digitally worldwide in February 2018. The game was developed by Sony Interactive Entertainment's Japan studio and by Japanese video game development studio Team Ico. Led by video game designer Fumito Ueda, it was the studio's second game following the commercially and critically successful game Ico, and it was also Ueda's second time as the director and lead designer for a game after previously working as an animator. Ueda also wrote the game's story alongside Junichi Hosono, Masashi Kudo, and Takashi Izutani. The game was produced by Kenji Kaido, who also worked on Ico and other games like Ape Escape and Tomba 2, and it was composed by Ko Otani, who is well regarded for previously creating the music for the anime Gundam Wing and for several of the Japanese Godzilla films, to name a few. Acting as a standalone and vaguely tied prequel story to Ico, Shadow of the Colossus takes place in a large expansive region known as the Forbidden Land, filled with many different ecosystems such as deserts, rainforests, mountains, and lakes with empty ancient ruins scattered across them. Although forbidden to people in the areas beyond it, the Forbidden Land is geographically isolated, being connected primarily by a long and high arching bridge that leads to a shrine-like ruin with a spirit-like entity found within. The game's story revolves around a young male character named Wanda, who journeys to the Forbidden Land and crosses along the long bridge at the beginning of the game with his horse Agro, while also carrying the deceased body of a young maiden named Mono. Using an ancient sword he brought with him, he uses it within the shrine to initially vanquish shadow creatures, and then to call forth the disembodied spirit named Dormin. Wanda then asks Dormin a single request, that is to reunite Mono's soul with her body in order to bring her back to life. To be able to achieve this, Dormin requests to Wanda in return that he needs to destroy the 16 idol statues within the shrine, which can only be done by seeking out and killing 16 beast-like creatures in the Forbidden Land using his ancient sword. Thus begins the game's plot, to seek out and slay the Colossi in order to restore Mono's life, an epic tale told through minimal dialogue and a unique fictional language, which leaves a lasting emotional impression on you long after the credits roll. This third-person 3D game is primarily an action-adventure through open-world exploration, and by controlling his horse companion Agro, Wanda is able to traverse across the land and then explore harder-to-reach regions on foot or by climbing with limited stamina. By holding up the ancient sword in sunlight, Wanda is able to shine a beam from it that identifies the direction of each colossi, which will require vast exploration to different environments across the map to find them both above and underground, above and underwater, and also in the air. When fighting a colossus, puzzle-like elements and platforming becomes a central focus, whereby you must identify and stab certain regions of the colossus that will change as they get weaker. At the same time though, you must learn to understand and influence the behaviours to work out how to climb atop them and then navigate your way to their vital spots without falling off. For every Colossus to defeat, only one is discoverable in the world at a time, creating a direct focus and objective to discover that single creature. Furthermore, music can only be heard during the battles and cutscenes, with only environmental sounds otherwise being heard throughout exploration. These gameplay designs heighten the style of storytelling and atmosphere in the game by helping create the sense of conviction mixed with the consequences of a long and lonely journey of solitude by going to the ends of what feels like a vast and long forgotten world with only aggro at your side in order to defeat larger than life challenges to achieve the impossible and what others may even consider unallowable. All in all, the game has a normal and hard mode and takes between 4 to 8 hours to complete an initial playthrough. Once completed, you can replay the game on the same difficulty and unlock the added option to fight each Colossus in a time attack mode for said difficulty. By approaching each idol statue in the shrine, you can refight the corresponding Colossus within a set time to receive a bonus enhancing item. Additionally, you have the option to play the entire game on the opposite difficulty, after which you can then unlock the time attack for that difficulty and receive a different set of enhancing items. As a result, it's often recommended that you beat the game on normal mode first, so you can then unlock and collect all its time attack items to help you later beat the game more easily on hard mode, and then obtain the additional set of time attack awards on that difficulty too. Obtaining all or many of the rewards from the time attack modes will grant many benefits, including being able to traverse through harder to reach areas of the world and collect certain items, be able to get more trophies depending on the console you're playing on, and even gaining enough stamina to reach a special secret location shown in the game's ending. The game went on to become a highly acclaimed critical and commercial success on the PlayStation 2, selling 140,000 copies in its first week of retail in Japan, and later becoming one of Sony's greatest hits titles in August 2006. It won many awards, including the Best Game Design, Best Character Design, Best Visual Arts, Game of the Year, and an elusive Innovation Award in 2006 at the Game Developers Choice Awards. It also won the Outstanding Achievement in Art Direction that year at the DICE Summit. Later, Bluepoint Games assisted in creating a visually enhanced remaster on the PlayStation 3 with widescreen and trophy support in 2011, followed by them later developing an ultra high definition remake on the PlayStation 4 in 2018 by using the original PS2 codebase to faithfully recreate modern versions of the game's assets. In addition to modern assets, they added a new optional control scheme, updated user interface, brand new items, locations, trophies, gallery artwork, visible statistics, a photo mode, visual palette mode, and Easter eggs from both Eco and Shadow of the Colossus to name a few. The remake went on to receive its own awards, including the Freedom Tower Award for Best Remake at the New York Game Awards and the Game Classic Revival Award at the National Academy of Video Game Trade Reviewers Awards, and it even later went on to also become a free game for PlayStation Plus members during March 2020. The game also went on to receive various merchandise, including a soundtrack, strategy guide, various small and large figures, and bonus physical merchandise in the PlayStation 2 release and PlayStation 4 Special Edition release. Digitally, there are various digital items for the PlayStation 4 remake, including bonus extra in-game items and skins, and PlayStation themes and avatars. Furthermore, for anyone interested in learning more about the game's development and even connection to Eco, Shadow of the Colossus was featured in a hybrid strategy guide and making of book for The Last Guardian published by Future Press, and it was also heavily featured in a book released by Third Editions on the works of Fumito Ueda. All in all, Shadow of the Colossus and its many complementary materials continue to leave a legacy that inspires creativity, storytelling, and inspiration for many. So there we have my introduction to and recommendation for Shadow of the Colossus. This game is something that I really can't consider anything other than a masterpiece. This is a really evocative, thought-provoking story with a lot of gameplay and design, specifically artistic styles and ways that the narrative is told. Is actually something that I think really can influence and inspire a lot of people, something which we have already heard and seen and continue to see in video games today. I think this is something that I really recommend to everyone, regardless of whether you actually play video games or even don't play video games. Maybe be interested in getting into video games in some form. I think this is really one of those games that can really show you what video games have to offer and how this medium can really tell a story. Anyways, thank you so much for watching my introduction to and recommendation for Shadow of the Colossus. I hope this might inspire you or anyone to give this game a go, maybe even revisit it if you haven't played it in a long time. But until then, stay spot on.